What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to The Drop. Now, before we get into it this week, I do want to make it very clear that I am changing some things up. Over the course of the past couple of months, I felt like this series has gotten kind of stale, because you can, frankly, if I'm being honest with myself, get this information wherever you want, whether it be the PlayStation blog, the Xbox Wire, GameSpot, IGN, any of these other outlets do cover this stuff on a weekly basis as far as the new video game releases go, so I don't really need to do that side of it. That being said, I can still bring some entertainment value to this stuff because I want to see what new games are coming out, you guys want to see what new games are coming out, and I do pretty much have some kind of thing to say about each and every title that comes out week to week. So that being said, this is how we're going to be doing things going forward. Pretty much I'm going to be reading the official description of the game that has been provided by the developers to the press, to the game, sellers, whoever it may be. I'm going to be reading that prepared thing that they normally put out for everyone to, see if they want to play the game. Then following that, I'm going to say what I actually think about the game. So you guys get to stay updated on all the new games coming out week to week, and I get to kind of give my 2 cents like we always have with The Drop, but it's going to be a lot less formal and just a really good time in general. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So kicking things off this week, we have Deus Ex Mankind Divided coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. The year is 2029, and mechanically augmented humans have now been deemed outcasts, living a life of complete and total segregation from the rest of society. Now, an experienced covert operative, Adam Jensen, the guy from Human Revolution that came on the Xbox 360 and PS3 a couple of years ago, you probably know him, he's the guy with the sweet glasses that kind of looks like Filthy Frank, is forced to operate in a world that has grown to despise his kind. Armed with a new arsenal of state-of-the-art weapons and augmentations, he must choose the right approach, along with who to trust, in order to unravel a vast worldwide conspiracy. So what can I say about Deus Ex Mankind Divided? Number one, I love the concept of it. I just absolutely love the concept of an us versus them scenario being established between people who have had these surgeries to make their bodies more capable, more adaptable, better in general, versus the people who've chosen to stay natural-born human beings. That sounds pretty dang awesome, and I think that it actually could happen somewhere down the line. Now, in addition to this, the team has made a lot of improvements since Human Revolution to make this RPG element style game a lot more RPG-like. In fact, you can actually choose to play the game completely stealth-y, I guess is the best way to put it. You can play the game in a stealth kind of mindset all the way through from beginning to end, which is one of the gripes that a lot of players had with Human Revolution, because there were boss modes that kind of drug you out of that stealth mode that you had tried to play in, and it kind of killed the entire vibe that you were personally going for with the game. So it sounds like they fixed that with Mankind Divided. We'll just have to wait and see, but I think it is going to be a better game as far as the RPG mechanics do end up going. Generally, the scores are between 8.5 and 9s out of 10s. Now, of course, I do like that Rick and Morty quote where it's like, think for yourselves, don't be sheep, something along those lines. So play the game, see for yourself if you do enjoy it. But that being said, 8.5 to 9 out of 10 from IGN, GameSpot, pretty much every major outlet, including Metacritic, which is one that I personally think is one of the better ones to check out. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty good game, at least as good as its predecessor, if all of the new bells and whistles do in fact come included with the game, as they were promised a long time ago. So next up we have King of Fighters 14 coming to the PlayStation 4. Now this is entirely from the website, literally copied and pasted. So this is all of the features, and there are a good many of them. So we're going to go ahead and just dive right in. I'm just going to read them. New chapter, a brand new King of Fighters saga. The King of Fighters storyline has been continuing over the Orochi, Nest, and Ash story arcs. King of Fighters' rich story has not finished and returns in a brand new exciting arc with King of Fighters 14. 3-on-3. King of Fighters' traditional game style, or game system, is back, rather. Select your favorite 3 fighters from the game's gorgeous character roster and fight to victory via King of Fighters' traditional and most praised 3-on-3 team battle game system. Climax cancel. What is up with this? Ultimate combos. The combo system has evolved in King of Fighters 14, allowing players to execute a climax super special move from a super special move in the same combo for astonishing damage. I don't know what that means, but it sounds slightly sexual and very intense in addition to that. A new max mode, a refined max mode. King of Fighters series emblematic max mode, wow, that's a tongue twister, returns in King of Fighters 14 with significant improvements. Activating max mode gives access to X special moves for unlimited combo and damage possibilities. Now that sounds like fun, just to be able to play with your character, use all of the ultimates and whatnot, and really be able to play to your fullest potential without being restricted by the game mechanics in a normal match. That sounds pretty dang cool. Rush from Battlefield, apparently. A new feature that can be enjoyed even by beginners. The newly introduced Rush feature allows even novice players to perform combos by pressing light punch repeatedly. Pressing light punch repeatedly. This is a button mashing mode. Okay, game mode. That's the heading. A plethora of game modes. King of Fighters 14 features a large variety of game modes such as Story Mode, Versus Mode, and Gallery Mode for the best King of Fighters experience ever. Party Battle, a new fighting game experience. Duke it out with as many as 6 people, 3 players on each team in Versus Online Party Battle. Feel the heat of an authentic fighting game experience via the PSN. Now, if 6 people are playing in a standard fighting match, that sounds to be pretty cool, especially if it's kind of a tag team thing. I'm not really sure how it works. Not a big fan of fighting games, especially not King of Fighters. That's just my opinion. Online training. This is going to bomb. I remember reading about this. Learn techniques from the best players, and experienced players can learn how to become stronger from master players via the online training feature. Both players can communicate with each other with the common goal of strengthening the disciple. There's no way you're going to convince someone that is extremely good at the game to kind of temper their potential and literally teach someone else how to play the game. That is not how video games work, and I'm going to be very shocked if this actually turns out to be something that is good for the King of Fighters franchise and the King of Fighters community in general. However, if it does work, that's going to be some cool stuff to be able to learn from the best, maybe even some professionals that jump online, even if they are paid by the guys that made the game. We'll just have to see how that one goes. Communication. Various communication possibilities. King of Fighters 14 will make full of PlayStation 4's online functions, that's what it says, such as the online profile and comment features, in order to foster player communication and strengthen communities, which sounds pretty cool. I suppose they're really going community first within this King of Fighters 14 game, and maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, who knows. Now, as far as my personal experience with King of Fighters, my first experience with it was in a Metal Slug arcade machine in the middle of Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in a small trailer park, where there was pretty much this small arcade. It had a foosball table, it had some air hockey stuff, it had some pinball machines, a Terminator 2 pinball machine that was pretty dang cool, and on top of all of that, there was also a pretty sweet Metal Slug machine, which was actually an S&K Playmore machine, I believe, something along those lines, where there was pretty much a couple of games, mainly Metal Slug, which is the one that attracted me, and beside Metal Slug was King of Fighters. And unfortunately, whenever I put in my 25 or 50 cents, whatever it was, whenever I put in my tokens, so to say, I accidentally hit King of Fighters 14 or King of Fighters 4, whatever it might have been, and I ended up having to play that instead of Metal Slug, so my history with the game is pretty devastating. That being said, as far as the roster goes, there are 16 teams with 3 fighters on each team, making a total of 40-something, I suck at math, characters that you can play as. That's a good many, and especially if you split them up by teams, I suppose that's a pretty standard roster. You can pretty much think of it as 16 characters to choose from. And the demo has been well received so far, so for fans of the franchise to say that a demo is actually good, that is a pretty good sign that the game is going to become something of a staple in the fighting community. I'm not really sure. This isn't my area of expertise. If anyone knows more about this game and wants to put it down in the comments section below, feel free, but King of Fighters 14 is coming to the PlayStation 4 this week, and if the demo is anything to speak from, if the features sound like something you might want to check out, then you might want to try this one out when it comes out this week. Next up, we have Worms WMD. It's the 21st anniversary of Worms, and Team 17 is celebrating it by launching the best version of the game yet. Worms WMD has a new look and new features delivered by an engine that recreates classic Worms physics and gameplay. That sounds cool. Be sneaky and hide out in buildings, use mounted guns, and get around in a range of different vehicles. Take the fight online and compete in multiplayer matches, all with the essential feel of the classic Worms experience. So with Worms WMD, it is a true throwback to the Worms franchise, and that's what I love. It's going to be a pretty much love letter to fans of the original Worms games, and I think that's something that has been a long time coming. Now, the description of the game actually does touch on some of the best features that are being added, including hiding in buildings, using mounted guns, new vehicles have been added to the experience, so there is a lot of new content for people who are worried about getting the same kind of regurgitated stuff. It's a lot of old mixed in with a little bit of new to make for a pretty nostalgic but still fresh experience, and I think that's where Worms WMD is going to shine. Now, that being said, there is an awesome All-Stars content pack that has been announced as a pre-order exclusive, I guess is the best way to put it, or even it's an edition of the game if you want to look at it like that. But I have a feeling this is going to be released at a later date as standalone DLC, but it includes content from, or inspired by, I suppose, Saints Row 4, you've got Broforce, you've got Payday 2, tons of stuff. Just go ahead and check out this trailer.
Rated E10 for ages 10 and up. Knock, knock. Who's there? Ow! No! Ooh. No! No! Kamikaze! Was I too rough? That's how Marines do it. Hold it still. Isn't that a little excessive, honey?
So as you can tell by that lengthy and well-edited montage, there is a ton of stuff to be had within this All-Stars edition of Worms WMD. So if you feel like pre-ordering this game and you feel like it's a safe bet, I would definitely consider that you are pre-ordering it. Take that, accept that, come into yourself, go to your support group if you have to. And if you really want that content, you can pre-order. But if you wait, I almost guarantee it will be released for a small fee or even free, depending on how the developers feel about the content going forward. Next up, we've got a title that has been a long time coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PlayStation Vita, and PC. I believe I covered all of the different versions of the game, but this is, of course, Attack on Titan. Fight in a violent and relentless battlefield where the situation constantly changes from moment to moment. Every strategic decision you make will link directly to a new and exciting action. A new breed of hunting action that combines a high level of tactical freedom with the thrill of taking on Titans alongside your comrades in arms. Using the omnidirectional mobility gear created specifically for battle with Titans allows you to fly freely across and above the battlefield, close in with Titans at high speed, weaken them by severing limbs such as arms or legs, and then sink your blade into the weak point at the nape of their neck like a small kitten. That last part was added by yours truly. It is the duty of the Scout Regiment, to which Aaron belongs, to travel beyond the wall and expand the territories of mankind. Experience exciting drama unfolding across a battlefield that changes in real time. The destruction of buildings when fighting in the town will also change the range of actions available to you. Custom Toon Shader, the latest graphical fusion of anime and game styles that uses physical renderings, brings the rich Attack on Titan world to glorious life. Eren, Mikasa, and all of your other favorite characters can move freely across vast areas. Based on the storyline from the animated series, experience Attack on Titan like never before.
Weeaboos!
So now, before we even get into this, I'm not a fan of anime. I've watched like half an episode of Pokemon, I've watched like half an episode of Attack on Titan. Not even sure if Pokemon counts as anime, but it's going to here. And this is pretty much my synopsis of the game after watching the trailer at least 2 or 3 times, just to kind of get the gist of what the game is about. Giant naked people and at least one giant Bigfoot are trying to eat regular-sized people, a few of which can fly and fight back, not really sure why. Now, the trailer for this game, speaking of that, it looks rough. There are a lot of glitches, there's a lot of stuff popping in and out, so temper your expectations on this one, especially for that PlayStation Vita version, and I am being serious here. The Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC version of this game is pretty much what's being shown off in the trailer. So if there are glitches and little small, points in the gameplay that don't quite fulfill the player's expectations in these official versions of the game, the PlayStation Vita version is going to be at least, I would say, 50% worse, if not 100% worse than that. So temper your expectations, don't pre-order this yet, see what the critics have to say. But if you are a fan of Attack on Titan, you're probably going to enjoy this game regardless of what kind of gameplay is there. However, if that gameplay is bad enough, you're probably not going to enjoy it that much. So last but not least, we have Madden NFL 17 coming to a lot of consoles, which should be right around in here. Now, I was going to do the full rundown on this game. I was going to see what changes had been made. I was going to see what features had been added, all of that good stuff. I was going to do the full-fledged report on this game. Number 1, I don't care about football. Number 2, I don't really care that much about Madden, although I do appreciate a good game of Madden from time to time. But more so than that, I have a pretty big problem with this franchise, especially with the new generation versions of the game and the, progression from game to game, year after year. It seems to me that if you were to sit down and look at gameplay from the first Madden that was on PlayStation 4 and compare it to Madden NFL 17, there would be slight improvements to where you could probably tell a slight graphical difference, but overall, the game is exactly the same year after year after year. Honestly, for Madden fans or fans of football, you can definitely check out Madden NFL 17, and I know that there are certain retailers that are doing a trade-up program where you bring in your copy of last year's Madden and they give you a significantly higher amount of money for this year's Madden if you choose to buy that specific game. So that's a pretty good way of doing this, I suppose, if you did want to have the newest NFL experience to play alongside the NFL season as it does unfold, if you absolutely have to have the game. But this is one of those things where you vote with your wallets. If people stop buying Madden, which is not going to happen, then they are going to be forced to actually make some improvements and changes to the game that are going to fundamentally change the experience overall and make it better in the long run. That's just my 2 cents. I won't be buying Madden NFL 17. However, for fans of football, like I said, you can, throw your old copy at GameStop and they'll throw you a new copy of the old game that's been repackaged for Madden NFL 17. All you sports fans, go play your basketballs and your footballs and your baseballs, and you guys can have a good time. I'll be here with my Battlefield, my Overwatch, and my Titanfall 2 beta. So there you guys have it. I hope you have enjoyed this edition of the new version of The Drop. If you did, drop me a like down below and let me know what games you are planning on picking up this week, if anything. Are you a die-hard fan of Madden, or are you a fan of any of the other games that I happen to mention? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you happen to be new to the channel or you've never seen any of my other content, I do upload new stuff like 3 or 4 days a week depending on the week, so there's always something new right here on the channel when you drop by to watch some videos. But as for right now, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.